The moment of truth. I think we're live. YouTube's always a little bit like laggy when going live, but I think we're good to go. So today we're going to do just a lot of stuff. I don't think that we're going to be finishing animations. Remember on Tuesday during the last stream, and holy hell, what is going on with my performance here? Why is it so laggy? Holy shit! Oh, it's because Substance Painter is still open probably, and Photoshop. That might have something to do with it. Let's close down Photoshop first and foremost. And then I imagine that it's Substance Painter and it's VRAM related because that's got like a bunch of 8K textures. I just wanted to think maybe we should export the textures. Yeah, the 3D crash thingamajig. Just send and restart, that's fine. I was also just getting this month's, if you're an Unreal Engine developer, go check your free for the month. Because there's some real cool stuff in there this month. We've got like a stylized, this seems really quite specific, like these stylized nature things. But quite cool nonetheless. I'm probably more so interested in like this cathedral asset and the nature environment asset. Cloud lighting system I'll have to look into a little bit more. The ancient golem kind of like it's cool, don't get me wrong. Okay, finally. We don't need to restore anything. Like this is cool, don't get me wrong, but it's like a very recognizable character, and usually I'm like, yeah, okay, but everybody is gonna be using this, so I want to avoid using it. These things are like just set dressing, right? They're not that important. There's only so many ways you can make a plant look. For a character, I don't like using pre-existing characters as much. Anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent already. Let's open up our animation level here and actually start on the animation. Except that what I was going to say is, remember in, why are the two of them? Remember in the last stream when I said I will do the fingers between streams? Well, turns out I've got a very busy week this week, so I didn't do that. So his fingers still aren't rigged up, so we need to do that first. And we also, I don't know if I said that I would do this off stream, but I didn't. So I also haven't had time to make a list of the animations that we need to make yet. So we're going to like do that little bit of like pre-production. It's not really pre-prod, well, depending on how you categorize it, I suppose. But we're going to do that a little bit preparation. Also, I just had dinner again, pizza, which is not great for like sounding great on stream, I'm afraid. So we'll deal with it. Let's do the fingers here. The fingers are actually quite easy to do. I've already got the Knight control rig, which has a setup for the fingers, which I believe might be... Nope. It's very uncategorized. Does it do the fingers first? No, I think that's just the spine. In which case, there's a RuneScape thing going on. I'm also still playing a RuneScape in the background. Yes, I am. I think these are the fingers, right? We have distribute rotation on a set of bones. We do that for the left and the right hand. Oh no, we do that. These are for the thumbs, and then we loop through them for the... Only one... There's only one loop here. Why is there only one loop? You would assume... that it loops over both hands? Right? Let me check this, because I want to copy this over to save a little bit of time. But both hands work. Or am I just going crazy? No, this hand just straight up doesn't work. So instead we put that in there and then we complete through there. Does that make the other hand work now? It does. Okay, so we're just going to copy this over and we'll see how this ends up working out for us. So we'll just copy that over, and touching up those nodes is going to be easier than reconstructing the entire fucking thing. It's going to be missing a lot of stuff, obviously. And we'll collapse this into some other nodes at some point, I'm sure. But for now, we want to first and foremost get a couple of controllers, and we're going to set the picture-in-picture here to bottom right again, because that shouldn't overlap with anything. Hopefully, I think this is a good place for it. So first things first, we need a bunch of controls, and those controls are going to be finger controls, and those are, well, to be fair, those are the most annoying to set up, so this is probably gonna like take a moment. But let's try to just take one of each of the fingers and add new controls for them. And we'll change that into being... Hold on, why is that there? I personally like Unreal Engine's rigging. I don't know how Maya works, to be frank. I used to do it in Blender. I do it in Unreal now. I mostly do it in Unreal due to the fact that I only have a pinky controller. What the fuck is going on? What the hell even am I doing? Hold on. I'll get back to your question in a moment. I promise. I'll try to do this again. The reason I do it in Unreal is because for making gameplay animations, doing that in Blender or in Maya, that works quite fine. If you want to make like cinematics, like cutscene animations, making those animations in a different software, exporting them, putting them in Unreal, and then trying to make like a animation sequence out of them is just a nightmare. Like I haven't found a good workflow for it. Let's just say that. So being able to just animate those cutscenes right here in Engine is worth it for me to set these things up in Unreal. Aside from that, I have found that it actually like works fairly well. I mean, we're gonna do it today, so if you stick around, you'll see. To just like rig up and animate things right in Engine. It's very nice because if I want to change like a gameplay animation as well at this point, I just it only does the one. I don't know why it only does the one. But if I want to change a gameplay animation, I just have to open the animation sequence in Unreal, change something about it, I can update it, and it updates the animation clip that is taken from that sequence, and then it also immediately, because it's like a cascading effect, right? We have the animation montages, like for the attack animations. They reference a clip, and those clips are just referencing a animation sequence. So if I update the animation sequence, it cascades all the way down, and it just immediately applies to like my gameplay animations as well. Yeah, RuneScape, I know. I will click on you. Calm down. Good day to you too, even Steven. It's not so bad if you use them properly. In PostViz or virtual production, we just use export, import, FBXs. And anytime we need to iterate, we just use re-import. So cinematics aren't too bad. Yeah, you see, but that's the thing. Like, not too bad. It is still like, I don't see a reason. It is more what I'm getting at is if you're used to already animating in Maya and you don't want to like learn to rig something new in for instance Unreal, I can see the reasoning for that very, very much. If you're coming into something a little bit more fresh, it's like, why would I animate things in Blender at this point, or in Maya, instead of just doing it in Unreal? If Unreal is the thing that like the final animations end up in, if you're animating like in Unreal and then you're importing them like back into Maya or whatever, that then again doesn't make any sense, right? So you probably shouldn't do that. But if you're animating for like a cinematic, Unreal can be used to render full movies these days. Let's do... Oh my god, those are all over the fucking place. Also, why is there so many of them? Because it's Arrow 4? Is it just Arrow Solid that I want? It's just Arrow Solid that I want. Okay, fair. And we want to make those blue. So if you're doing a like movie in Unreal or a game in Unreal, it makes the most sense to me to have as much of your workflow be in Unreal, unless there is actively a good reason for it to be elsewhere. Like, sculpting and modeling in Unreal is subpar at best. Like, the actual art assets I make with a combination of Blender and Substance. Well, also Substance Painter. I was going to say ZBrush. But then the textures is mostly like Substance Painter, Substance Designer, because Unreal just, like, isn't great as a tool to make those with. So if you have particular reasons to not be using Unreal because Maya does something better in any way, I can definitely see that as a valid argument, because it's not that big a deal to re-export and re-import something into Unreal. But if you don't have an active reason to do that workflow, you are adding like 2 steps, which is also 2 points of failure into your workflow, is the way I see it. I'm not very familiar with Maya's animation curve editor. What I do know is, well, try to get into it. I'll just like, I'm good at getting distracted. This is why these streams like make no progress, because I am so distractible. Let's try to like open up an animation. I'll just show you. I won't say that the curve editor in Unreal is particularly like very good. I'll straight up say that. So if you put a lot of value on the curve editor, which you should, you very much should. Let's, for instance, fucking bosses, night, animation sequences. It's not in here actually. Let's go for my player character, animations, character, player, sequences, RuneScape. Shut the fuck up. This stream isn't getting monetized. For instance, my, like, I don't know, fucking air recovery animation, right? It's just like this. I'm not a great animator. It's also like, its playback is a lot better. These are just like the keyframes for it. It's fairly simple. We might get to it at some point. You can open up the curve editor, at which point you just have like all your tracks the same way. I think when you select them in here, it also automatically selects them in there. Yeah. I don't have a lot of real estate at the moment for this. If I were animating off stream, this would be over on my second monitor, because I like having a lot of real estate for like my my curves. I think there's a way to like normalize as well in here somewhere. Maybe it's this one. No, it's not that one. Yeah, so this is absolute view mode. You also have a normalized mode, which in some cases, I mean, I'm sure you know what normalized mode means. In some cases I prefer it, in some cases it also makes things a little bit iffy. By default, you just have like these tangents which you like can't pull out, which is really annoying. It's quite... fuck. Hold on. It's quite easy to fix that though, but you do need to fix it every single time, and that's kind of annoying. So we have like this cubic interpolation by default. What you want to do is you want to set this to toggle weighted, and there we can like pull out the tangents a little bit. They're still like always opposite each other. If we do this, we can do that by cubic interpolation, user broken tangents, and now they are separate from each other. So we can do all that. That's just like basic curve editor stuff that we can do. I believe there might be some stuff that you can do adding like functions to your curves as well. I don't know how you can do it. I know in Blender you have like simple noise functions that you can like additively add on top of your curves. I believe I've seen that in Unreal too, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I've never actually had to use that in Unreal so far. So I don't know where to find it, but I'm fairly certain it does exist. I'm gonna set this back to what it was though, because actually this should be fine. It should be fine. And now we're gonna go back to rigging. The rigging itself though is, I don't know how Maya rigging works. I know for me, compared to Blender, this makes a lot more sense in like a node-based approach rather than like a stack of constraints. Which effectively this still is, but this feels a lot more like blueprint programming. So if you're used to that already in Unreal, you'll get used to this a lot quicker. No, don't shut up. Don't shut up while I'm working. It's like this. Part of the reason I'm doing this live is to like interact and answer questions and whatever. It's just like this character could have been finished about 10 work hours ago if I was just focused in. But that's part of the reason why this doesn't have to be finished anytime soon. So I get distracted easily. That's fine. That's my problem. I have a plan for this weekend to just like put in a bunch of work for the game to get all of that done. So don't sweat it. Don't sweat it at all. Maya has oil filtering, which is super useful. And they recently, in the last 5 years, well, for Maya's lifetime, that's pretty recent, right? Got Butterworth from Movo. I don't even know what that means, honestly. So that's interesting. Looks like has most everything you want in a curve editor. I mean, yeah. I don't think a curve editor necessarily like needs a lot of features. Being able to put in those like expressions additively to your curves is really, really nice. That is a feature that not all curve editors always have. But aside from that, it's mostly just like ease of use, accessibility, and intuitive like controls for me personally. So how about animation between constraints, foot hand planting, stuff like that? I do believe that Unreal has like a lot of stuff for that. I haven't really looked into it, but you can make like and I know that this is not really about foot and hand planting constraints. RuneScape is like literally gonna log me out because I've been logged in too long. What the fuck? I know that Unreal in its animation has support for like custom spaces. So you can set up like you have world space and local space for every single bone. But then you can also say, okay, apply transform data to, for instance, a finger bone in like upper arm bone space. If that for any reason is something that you need, and you can very easily like layer and additively layer those on top of each other as well. I imagine that you could also like make a space that is not directly related to a bone. I haven't tried that yet because, frankly, the animations that I make are pretty simple for the most part, and I'm not an animator like at all. So that's mostly like that goes a little bit beyond me. Maybe we want to use a rotator for this after all. Let's see. I always get fucked up with the rotators. But this seems pretty good, right? If I don't scale them down, 0.1. That seems pretty good. Don't do that last one. So that's the Y direction. That's going to be the direction that we're going to be sliding in, and then this is the up direction. I mean, it's not great the way this looks. I'll be real with you, but I think we're going to stick with it, maybe. Yeah, maybe we should do something like this. That's fine. Let's compile that. Animation, yeah, being able to layer animations is very useful for mocap stuff, I imagine. I've never really worked with mocap. Well, not with uncleaned up mocap. Like, I have, like, I'm sure that Miximo has a lot of mocap animations, and I use those regularly. Not for my own stuff, because, like, look at this guy. Does this look like something that Miximo can deal with? I'm going to answer that for you. No, it doesn't. Let me look up what the fuck I did for this, actually. We have, like, get control floats. I hope that's not too loud, actually, every time a rune light screams at me. This needs to be changed from a Euler transform to a float. And my god, it's going in the wrong direction, isn't it? They're all going down. But I think we can change that, right? We can say primary axis is the Y. And now they're going all in the wrong direction. Oh my god. Yeah, so this is slightly annoying. I suppose what we could do is, yeah, so this is a little fucked. If we set this back now to Euler transform, we get our transform back, and we can just Euler XYZ. I go back between Euler and Euler. Fucking sue me. If we rotate that 180 degrees now, we want to set offset from current, I believe. Now if we compile, that shouldn't turn back around. Yes, it does not. That's good. And now we can rotate this guy 180 degrees again. I said 180 degrees again. I said, what the fuck is wrong with you? 180 degrees. So it's pointing in the right direction again. And now if we change this to a float, it's pointing the right direction. That's mostly like a me issue. I do want to be fair. It's also very, very far down. Because like the direction of these arrows is just like all kinds of fucked. Can we do this with multiple at a time? That would be fantastic. Let's test this out. But it's also a little bit annoying that these shapes, the direction, like you need to set this back to a transform, then change them around like this, then apply. Like it's a little bothersome. And I'm still not entirely sure whether or not that's entirely on me, or whether or not that's just Unreal being a little unreasonable at times. I feel like it might be a little of column A, a little of column B, but, you know, it's also not that big a deal to fix up. So now let's set this back to floats. And there we go. Now we've got these lines, which are way, way too long. Now this rig is very specific for this character. Unreal only in its next update, 5.4, is going... Well, you can make entire rigs that of course, are remapped to, like, the same skeleton. So, if you have, like, a generic humanoid skeleton, you can just retarget those onto other... and you have a rig for that. You can just retarget those onto each other, so that one rig can be used for a bunch of different, like, generic humanoid skeletons that might be slightly different in some ways. Maybe they just reuse the same skeleton anyway. The thing that Unreal is adding in its next update, which is, like, available for preview already, is modular stuff. So where you can make, like, this arm, like just upper arm, lower arm, this all FK. So pretty easy to set up, but it's just annoying if you have, like, 10 different characters with arms that all need their own, like, individualized rigging, having to set up an arm every single time, even though the arms are the same. What it's going to be adding is modular support. So you can just make a rig for an arm and then say, hey, apply this module. So, like, upper arm, lower arm, FK, IK, like blending, switching between them, and the fingers. And then you can just, like, apply that as a whole, which is going to kind of revolutionize the way I do a lot of my rigging, except by the time that I upgrade I'll probably have done, like, a bunch of the rigging. But this character as a whole, like, this rig isn't reusable for the most part, because it's quite specific to what this character is, I feel. But if I could make the module just for the arm, I probably could reuse that in, like, a bunch of places. So that would have been nice, but oh well. Maybe in the future I'll be able to get use out of that. Anyway, let's set the max for this to... What do I have? Like, I have a different character here with an arm, right? But you can see that this, like, this rig just doesn't make sense for the other character. And the arrows are lined up a little bit better here. I set the maximum to 20 on that one, so we're going to stay consistent with that, and... Or maybe not. 20 still seems like a very, very high amount. Do we want to be like 10? Fucking 5? Yeah, I think maybe 5. That's still quite long. We'll see. Can always make it shorter. I think there's, like, something here. Oh no, we can actually make this as long as we want to, because I already, like, did clever math for once. Because it's just taking a percentage. So we could even make this like 1 if we wanted to. Maybe make this like 4, 3. 3 sounds good. That's about the length of the fingers. That makes sense to me. Yeah, the modularity is always a good thing to have. The automatic, like, auto retargeting that Unreal has also apparently is getting a huge upgrade in the next update. I haven't really played around with it yet, but that seems like it could potentially be really, really cool. Let's see what this... That's just the right name, isn't it? Neat. Okay, we want to distribute rotation over thumb left 1, 2, and also bone thumb 3 for the left. So that, in theory, should now make this one work. Except that it's in the wrong direction. Which makes sense, because I fucked up the orientation of the bones in the last rig, like, very, very badly. So that will not be the X. I think it'll be the Y in this case. Nope, the Y is roll. So this will be the thing that I want. Yes. Maybe a little bit more, like 50, 90. It's a skeleton, right? So it can be a little weird. Maybe we do want a little bit of rotation here, actually, like 20 degrees. The other way around, though, minus 50. So we get a little bit of like that to it. Kind of fucks with the last little bone. Which isn't great, but at this point you wouldn't even see that, really. And 90 might be a little too much. Let's go back to like 70. Okay, cool. So the first finger works. Now we can just like ignore this for a little bit, because it's going to be for the other side of the hand. So that's going to hook up to this side a little bit later. Let's do the loop here first. I don't know how Maya and Blender work for this, but this is kind of one of those really cool things, because Unreal is like very game focused. So it's like, I don't know, it feels like it's more programming focused. So it has things like a for each loop where you can just like put in a bunch of things in an array and then just do the same operation on all of them. That's one of the things that I really like. Haven't had much issue with retargeting Unreal. Yeah, no, me neither. It's just, I think it's being made more easily automatable. Like just the automatic retargeter, where you just like throw fucking 2 skeletons at it and it kind of figures it out for itself, and you only have to do a little bit of touching up. It is getting better from what I've seen, and that's mostly because they've been improving stuff for Unreal Editor for Fortnite, because the Fortnite editor stuff needs to be like a lot more idiot proof, to be blunt, because it's being used by like a much wider user base that is coming in from a Fortnite perspective rather than like a game development perspective, and they're trying to like blend the two together and eventually siphon off people like into Unreal Engine proper, because people who are working with the Fortnite editor certainly like seem to have an interest in game development, and if they're going to grow into like game development, they would prefer everybody using Unreal Engine, of course. So I feel like that's the strategy about the Fortnite editor, but having to make some like more easily accessible, and like, again, I call it idiot proof, which sounds disparaging and maybe a little bit like rude. That's not exactly what I mean by it, though. Because they have to focus on that, that also then makes its way back into Unreal Engine proper, which, like, even though it's made for idiot proofing, I imagine that a lot of developers are still very happy to have it. Ghost Roaster. I've never heard of that. I've never really been a big Skylanders guy. As a matter of fact, I've always been kind of angry at Skylanders because that's where Spyro went to die. Oh, I can definitely see what you mean, though. Like, this character design is a lot better than mine. But I can see what you mean. Yeah, no. Like, I'll show it on stream, actually. Like, I can 100% see that. Again, this character design is a bunch better than what I could ever make. Yeah, if your character is like significantly differently proportioned, these are the bones. So let me focus real quick. If your characters have significantly like weird proportions, retargeting might sometimes be like just not it, because the animations that you're playing do take like the proportions of a character into account. So most animations, I would say. So if you have like much bigger arms suddenly, yeah, things are going to be clipping through each other. There's not much you can do about that, I don't think, really. Aside from making the animation like themselves a little bit more procedural, like you have in Mixamo, right? When you choose an animation, you have like certain sliders that modifies the animation. You probably could code something for that in Unreal as well. I just straight up not sure how that works. I guess you just like apply extra transforms to certain bones based on the sliders. I don't know. That's index finger. Yeah, you don't want to like make RPG Maker, right? I've I've used RPG Maker in the past when I was like 12. I'm like a couple of months ago, I came across it again. I was like, this still exists? Like, not as in, oh, this legacy software is still flowing about the internet. Like, this is still a business that is selling licenses. Like, it's on Steam. But I think like people use it instead of what's that visual novel engine that everybody uses to make like slightly more involved visual novels with like a little bit more gameplay mechanics. That's what I've seen it used for. So I guess there's something to that. But yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. You don't want to niche yourself down too much. And to a certain extent, Unreal is doing that. Like it's niching itself down a little bit like into the cinematic, and it's already like got this thing about it's really good for FPS games because like originally like it was built for Unreal Tournament. It goes much farther than that at this point, I would argue, but it still seems to like a lot of the features first person or third person. It's very much like a shooter game design engine. Not saying that you can't make other stuff in it. I am making something entirely different in it. But I can see where that's coming from with a lot of people. Does this now straight up work, by the way, or do we just not? It works, just the wrong direction. But that's easy to fix. We just take away the minus there. Okay, cool. So this hand now works. So Unreal Engine already has a little bit of that going on. Used to be with the like, oh, it's a shooting engine kind of thing. Right now it's going more into the, oh yeah, it's like a cinematic AAA engine. And I think that Unreal actually is a very good indie engine as well. Again, I'm using it for a reason. Like these live streams don't really give a good indication as to like how actually like flexible and quick it is to work with, because I just get distracted so badly. But that's a me issue. That's not an Unreal Engine issue. And let's do the same thing here for the other hands. Oh, no, don't select everything. Only the top bones, pretty please. New. Oh, add controls for selected. That's what I wanted to do. There we go. Now it adds controls for everything. And it adds them in a hierarchy. And it only adds like half of them. You know what? Fuck that. I'm just going to be adding these. Oh, hold on. No. It did do the thing. It did do the thing. I was just getting a little confused. Hold on. I will read the chat in a moment again. I'm trying to actually like not lose my mind here. So yeah, you can add controls for selected, and then I just add the whole thing with proper hierarchy if that is applicable. Again, that's entirely like a my bad kind of situation. Let's make this green. Arrow solid. But yeah, at the same time that they're niching down to a certain extent to like more cinematic games, you are right. They are also broadening the horizons into like Unreal Engine is also being used for like film production at this point. Famously, like The Mandalorian And up until now, that's just entirely been a free use case for Unreal. Like, you didn't have to even pay a license for that. They're changing that, of course, which is like fine by me. Let like Disney pay a lot more and keep my licenses low. Which with license I mean revenue share. And I'm not releasing anything anytime soon, so I'm not paying anything. Thumb 1R, yeah, no, that seems about right. Oh, now we need to fix up those. But they also have like architecture related stuff and automotive related stuff. I don't know anything about those. Like I'm just like a guy who is like video and game development related. And aside from that, I just like don't know anything about anything, to be honest with you. Okay. I think I set these to, how big did I set them to on the other side? Just want to make sure that they're about the same, 0.06. So it's 6% the size. You know what? Shape transform, we can just copy that. We can just paste that. That's not what I wanted to do. We can just paste that. And actually, we probably also want to... that's going to be a little bit more difficult to do. We'll just do this manually this way. I think this is a matter of setting this to 180. And the location here will probably then set a little bit up higher. And that should now, in theory... We didn't apply. Hold on. We'll get there. We'll get there at some point. Set offset from current. There we go. And now we can set this to floats and in the Y direction. And the value, I think we set the max value to like 3. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I don't know. I've seen Unreal used a lot in like non-game specific stuff over the last couple of years, and more, and I kind of like it because frankly, the more people use Unreal Engine, the better it is for me as well. So like I'm not entirely impartial to preferring people using Unreal Engine. If more people use Unreal Engine, more people will be like looking at my shit. Let's do this the other way around, just for consistency's sake. Wait, what? Oh, distribute. I am just an idiot. I am already doing it in the way that I wanted to do it. So, hold on. Does that just straight up mean that if we copy over, let's see, -30, +70? If we copy this over, does the thumb now work here? Yeah, there's probably going to be like some issue here, right? Surely. Yep, there's an issue. Just a little confused as to what that issue would be. Aside from the fact that I'm like missing out on a bone here, so but that can't be the problem, right? No, it's not. Why is the rotation auto set to ZY-X on both of these? It's not, again, it's not solving my issue, but I don't remember why I did that. It's been a while since I rigged that other arm up. So, okay, why does this distribute rotation make this thing like loop around a million times? Because it should be taking the float value of this guy between its current and its maximum, which like this is effectively just a loop. These are the most annoying things, right? Because like something is like clearly going wrong here. This is going the wrong direction. And it's also going way too far, I think. Well, it might actually not go too far. Hold on. I think maybe if we just reverse these back to like sometimes you have to just want to try things out, and yeah, see, okay, it still doesn't make a lot of sense why it does like almost 360 degrees. Like this looks about 210 degrees ish, which would make, would that be about 210? Like at this point it's about 180, then I guess another 90 and a bit. So that would be 270. That would be about 280. Could it be that it's 290 and that this 70 degrees is somehow messing with that? Weirdly. I mean, this is fun. I'll give you that, but it's not really what I want. But hey, it is moving in the right direction. So if I just... This is real bad, I am aware. But if I just like make this less... will that fix my issue? Like if I just make this like 5? No, not really. Not at all, actually. That might have something to do, actually, with this. Hold on. It might be that loop that is messing me up. That might be doing something. No, that's not it at all. Unless this is being used twice somewhere. No, it's only this node is actually impacting that thing. It is something to do with this. Firm right control. That is this one, right? Yes, it is. I mean, yeah. I could just leave it and just like only animate it up to, well, if we set this back to like, what was it, minus 30 and 70? Like that would work, don't get me wrong. Well, no, it was minus 30 and then minus 70, and that technically like gets it where it needs to be. Like if I just put it up to here. I guess that technically does work, yeah. It seems like it might not be properly dividing for some reason. It seems like the value of 1 is just like, is where it should end up roughly, more or less. And this is just like kind of overdrawing. But that doesn't make a lot of sense because I'm literally like dividing float value by maximum value and putting that into the weight. Like if I just put this at a value of 1, that makes even less sense. Why does a value of 1 go the other way around? What actually is going on here? Because like none of this makes sense. I'm kind of at a loss for words. For now, we're going to just ignore this and pretend like it's fine. Because, as you say, if I just animate this like this was totally by design, and I just only animated up to like a value of about 0.3, this will just work. Like, it does what it needs to do, it just does it a little bit too well. So let's see if the other fingers have a similar issue. Because if the other fingers just work, I'm going to just stick with it, to be honest with you. Your divide isn't connected. No, like, I mean, it is. Let me... I don't know how well this comes through. Oh, not zoom. It's not what I wanted to do. Zoom it. There we go. Like, what should be happening here is we have, like, float value. This is, like, a value of 1, 2, 3. Divided by the maximum, which is 3. Should give us, like, a percentage in the range of 0 to 1, right? And that then goes into there, which is just the weight of a rotation between 0 and this. This is just looping, and it's applying them to yeah. It's just applying that to all the bones up in this. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening here, but I honestly, like, at this point, it's fine. So this will be the pinky left, ring finger left, middle finger left, index finger left, I mean, there is something to be said about, like, things not being constrained in some cases, but in some cases, like, these fingers, you know, you're never going to want to curl the finger so far that they go into the hand. And they always, like, this transform always happens in, like, their own local space. So even if I, like, bend the hand itself back, right, that's not going to change the constraints for, like, this locally. It's always going to clip through itself. There's an argument to be made to also be able to, like, bend it in the other way just in case you need it, but I don't really see, like, a reason for it to be able to go further than this, personally. Let's compile to reset that wrist as well. All that said, though, I think that's all that we needed to do to get the other fingers to work. So hopefully these fingers now don't fuck up. Okay, I'm missing something. What am I missing? Are they rolling? No, they're just not doing anything. Why not? Oh! I'm an idiot! Oh, I understand what's going wrong now. Okay, so this distribute rotation for this thumb is happening inside of this for each loop. This for each loop has 4 entries, meaning that any distribution that I'm trying to apply here is getting applied 4 times. What I should be doing is I should be applying that after the loop completes. Now, and not in the loop, I should be applying that after the loop completes. So now we first complete the loop and then we move on. So if we do this now, this fixes it. There we fucking go. Yeah, no, definitely. There's in my case, I know that I'm not going to need that because I'm the one like modeling, rigging, animating, and programming the entire fucking thing. So I really know what I'm going to want to do with this to begin with. But that's why I said like there's a real good argument to be made to allow. But that's pretty easy to allow, right? So if I just set this minimum value here, like we have the current value, but we also have minimum and maximum value. If I just set that to like -3, we suddenly have the opportunity to also just pull this control the other way, and that it doesn't actually work with this math, now that I think about it. Okay, it would require the rigging to be set up a little bit different. Never mind. But there definitely is an argument to be made that it should be able to bend the other way as well. Because right now, like, it's constrained to being straight. It bending backwards definitely like has some like legitimate use cases to it that I'm personally just not going to need to be using, I don't think. But if you're just rigging for somebody else, I can definitely see a argument to make to like include those. Okay, so those other fingers still don't work. But that might be like a thing to do with the axes. No, it is not. Why doesn't it work then? Huh. But if I were to like add animations to this character, or like add this character into a scene where I like didn't see that coming, I would have to probably re-rig the hands of the character, because as I just showed, like it's not going to work very well with the way I have it set up right now. And if I need to re-rig everything, there's a good chance that like certain animations need to be reanimated because the rig now works differently. Or I'm now constrained in redoing the rig in such a way that it doesn't break previous animations, which is like even more of a pain, likely. So yeah, definitely can see why you want to rig for like as wide a use case as possible. That said, I still don't know why these aren't working. Because, like, we... This one works now, right? We've agreed on that. Like, the thumb works. After the thumb gets done, we do another for each loop, in which we distribute rotation through the children of all the things in here. Would you believe me if I told you that I'm actually still an idiot? I'm trying to... I'll show you what happens, actually. I have left pinky. Doesn't do anything. Let's go over to the other side of the model. Hey, we see a finger being curled here, probably. Actually, we don't. Huh. That's because this one is also setting it, probably. No, because this one should be setting it first, though. Huh. Okay, weird. I don't know. The issue, though, still is that I'm using this on the left pinky, and it should be using it on the right one. And now we have the axis-related issue. But that is relatively easy to fix. So we just need to set this to ring right. Middle right, index right, and that should now have my fingers working. So I spent an hour doing that. I said I was going to do that off stream, and I said I spent an hour doing it on stream because, again, I am very distractible. But now the entire hand should work well enough. Okay, that finishes up our rig because we don't need IK for this. And I can't be bothered setting up like fading or like interpolating between FK and IK. Weird question. Let's say you have a rig in Maya and also an Unreal. If I animate in Maya, bring in the finished animation to Unreal as an FBX, am I able to edit the animation in the Unreal rig? Yes. Yes, you can. For that, I've never like actually done this myself, but everything we have here is the forward solving. which means we take the rig and apply things to the bones. We also, I'll zoom in so that I can be sure that you read it. You also have a backward solve, which is the same thing, except it works the other way around. It takes the transform from the bones and applies it to the controls. So that way, like, you reverse bake, which also is just baking, I suppose, the animation data onto the controls so that you can then reanimate pre-existing FBX animations. And you also, it even comes with like a like keyframe limiter or whatever it's called. I don't know the name off the top of my head, but something that like reduces the keyframes to the bare minimum. So you don't get like a keyframe every frame. You get a keyframe every handful of frames depending on what like your tolerances are. I think you can give in tolerances for how like close it needs to be to the source animation. But again, I've never done that because I've just like stopped using external animation altogether, which there was a mere moment there where I was like, oh, that Cassador software looks really fucking good. And then I remembered, oh yeah, but like actually none of my characters are humanoid. So it's kind of useless to me because it works very well with humanoid characters, applying like the physics and doing the like AI posing, where if you like pose the hand somewhere, it's automatically balancing out the rest of the body in a way that makes sense. But that only works when you actually like have a fully humanoid rigged character or armature. And I don't, so that doesn't really apply to me either, it seems. So I don't personally use that, but it is definitely a thing that you can do. I'm just gonna keep this as a bunch of noodly nodes, to be honest with you, because we've spent a long time doing this anyway. I want to get to listing the animations that we need. We've got this figured out now. So we have the rig done. That's cool. That only took us like another hour. We spent 2 hours earlier this week on this entire thing. Let's close down this sequence and then. Okay, I've got a word pad here. Let's make my font size big. Sorry for any like night mode users. I just burned your readiness. Okay, we have animations for the Reaper. We've got a handful of people in chat, actually. Let's talk about this thing that I wanted to talk about for a while anyway. I'm going to need to decide whether or not this guy is left-handed or right-handed. Because he's going to have one weapon. And of course, we need to know this before we start animating. I need to add a socket to one of his hands to put the... to put like his weapon in. Yeah, I don't know if WordPad has like a night mode view. It might. I don't think it does. I don't think it does. I really hate it as well. Just so everybody is aware. Like I am in that category of night mode users. Suppose we can make it a little bit smaller and just like put it in like there and then have this as the background, only like slightly blinding. Animations. We need an idle animation. We're not going to use that idle animation too much, but that idle animation would then consist of a couple of sub animations most likely, which is full body hover, weapon arm bending. Okay, maybe make these ever so slightly smaller. Like 36. Then we have passive arm finger wiggle. Have you tried Notion? It helps a ton for game organization. I haven't heard of that yet. Let me Google that. If I just Google Notion, it's going to... Oh, actually, no, it does. Connect your workspaces for wiki, docs, and projects. That seems really cool. I'm gonna have to check that out. At the moment, I just like have a board on like... I just have like a Trello board. It's not actually Trello, because Trello isn't free. I use a service called Asana. I don't know how to pronounce it. Asana, which is kind of like just a free Trello. I also use it for like scheduling my videos and stuff. I don't know if it has any like proprietary information on it. I don't think it does. Like, does it have like phone numbers or emails? I don't think it does. So I can show it to you. Like this, it also has like a calendar view. So I also use it for my upload schedule for YouTube. It has built-in color coding, which I like. It's supposed to be used for priorities. Like we have high, medium, and low. It's in Dutch actually. So you probably like are very confused. But for me, like yellow is recorded, not edited. Orange is edited, and red is published. So I probably should put these to red as well. So you can see I'm quite like a bit ahead on video. And like I've got things edited and ready for publishing until the start of May. Then you can see that my devlog for May, the plan is doing a 12-hour development video. And then I have like a bunch of videos that I recorded yesterday but haven't edited yet. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. But I also use this for like the Action RPG project. And I don't use the calendar view for that. But this is more like I'm in the concepting stage. I'm in the ID stage. I'm actually developing this. This is ready to test play. After the test players have gone through it, I get the revisions, and after the revisions, I put them to being finished. This is how I kind of like organize my workload. And this is pretty much like the entire workload, and every like one of these has subtasks to it as well. This is how I pretty much organize my workload for the project, which is fine, but like this seems a lot better potentially, so I'm gonna look into that. Yeah, I'm gonna take that I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna look at that. So yeah, we have a handful of attack animations as well. So we probably will give him like quick attack 1 and a quick attack 2, and then a slower attack. Then he also needs a dash animation. Very simple, but there needs to be like some movement into it. And then and dash to swing. Because for context, what this boss is going to be like for anybody who hasn't been here for like the last, like since a month ago pretty much when we made that arena. It's been a while. Let's take a look at my levels. If I go into my persistent world, I have a lot of stuff to, I have a lot of stuff to save and check out. I know. We'll get to that. Which is also the name of my podcast. Hey, fun. Let's turn off a couple of streaming levels here because my computer doesn't like all that being turned on. So if we go all the way the fuck back here, this is the boss room level. So the boss fight will be taking place inside of this circle. There will be an invisible wall around it. For the most part, it'll be just like, I'm going to attack you. And now I have like a passive moment where you can attack me. His special attack though, that's going to like be his signature, is he will vanish from the battlefield, and one of these pillars is going to the place he spawns back in, at which point he's going to dash toward the player and like slash at him So we need an animation for that as well. That is what the dashing animation I just talked about is about. So we have that dashing and then the dash into the swing, which needs to be probably a separate animation. I like the idea. I didn't give my first boss fight a damage animation. I like the idea that all of the boss fights are like just so far beyond you that given enough attacks, eventually you do wear them down, but they don't actually like. They're strong enough, or like rather, comparatively, you are comparatively weak enough to the point where any individual hits doesn't really register on them, so they don't really give a shit. They don't react to being hit. In comparison to the normal enemies who like very much react to being hit and also have like a knockback and stuff. The bosses don't. So that is a very roundabout way of saying that I don't want to make knockback animations for them. Which is also the reason that like half my enemies don't have legs and they all fly. Because I just hate doing walk animations, man. Like walk cycles are my absolute... I hate them. Maybe like a taunt could be a good one as well. That's a good point. Like a taunt laughing animation when he like goes into his for moving to passive state to like signal the player a little bit that he's going into a passive state. For the knight boss fight I have for him it's very obvious that he's going into his passive state because like every I don't know X amount of seconds, he just kind of sits down and stops doing anything. Just sitting there to let you hit him. He's also the tutorial boss fight, I should point out. The guy that just sits down and lets you attack him. Like that's very obvious. We need like some kind of tell for players to know that, hey, maybe right now I should be moving in toward him. So I like the idea of like the emote for the laughing. That said though, his face doesn't have any rigging to it because the geometry for his skull is a fucking mess. To be fair, the geometry for everything on this guy is a fucking mess. But the skull apparently like not very like well made for animation, to be honest with you. So why are we flying around here again? I was showing off this. So do we need anything else? I think maybe I have an idea. What we'll do, and this is only partly because I want to... I wonder if this still works. Do I still have the setup for automatically applying all the... I still need to fix up my weapon system as well. That'll be something that I do this weekend when I do like the 12-hour development streak. So I wonder if my key still works. I have a key setup that just automatically like unlocks all the event flags in my game. And it seems like it might. There's one little issue with it though. That is that it's going to kill the boss fight immediately. Probably. So this might... Ah, fuck. Okay, load game. That's what we have save games for. So this might not have a boss fight. Yeah, it doesn't have a boss fight in it now. That's less than ideal. Let's try to fix it. I just want to like play against the boss fight I already have to see if there's anything I'm missing. Yeah, even without a jaw animation, just like with the static skull, having like a cackling sound and then like a "the world shall be mine" pose. You can't see me, I don't have a face cam. But what I'm doing is like wide arms, open fingers, like that pose, head backward, cackling sound. That kind of gets the point across. Like I don't need the jaw to move. You're right. Where do I keep those data assets? I think I keep them in there, and then events has happened. Boss defeated. We set that to no. And then we're also going to then save game here so that that saves. Okay, this is going to get us a... Oh no, it skips the cutscene. That's nice. So we have... Like, instantly getting hit, of course. It's been a while since I fought this guy, which is actually like a good test, right? Somebody's texting me midstream, because they always do. Don't mind the fact that his armor is like majorly deforming. I need to like... Yeah, so this guy just kind of sits down and lets you wail at him. You get it. This is the tutorial boss fight, okay? And it's a boss fight that still needs like quite a bit of reworking, because it's just like... So far, I've had this boss fight range from being like just infuriatingly too difficult to being non-engaging. And it seems like it's actually quite tricky to like program a boss fight that falls in between something. Like making something that is fun, but also not infuriatingly difficult, especially as me being the developer who's played through this fight a million times. Makes it a lot more difficult. Also, I redid my animations recently, and it makes the whole combat a little bit slower, which... Oh, we've got this attack as well. Yeah, I remember now. The FOV is just too low for this attack. This just doesn't work very well. Yes, or maybe heal. Maybe heal. Maybe run away. Maybe we should run the fuck away. There's also this issue with this boss fight where... Oh, that's not what I... Wait, what? The fuck did I do? I reloaded the previous level? Okay, we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen. That's a problem for future me. Anyway. So yeah, we've also got the problem with that specific boss fight is that his animations like don't like use any like IK for aiming and stuff. They're just like static animations, meaning that if you like just stick very close to him, like half his animation, just this one just doesn't hit you. That one does. But that's not ideal. That's not a bug, that was a feature. Like if you spam your special attack, which you shouldn't be able to do a special attack while you're already in a special attack, so I don't know what the fuck's happening with that. If you spam that special attack, it just like triggers a loading zone and it bugs out the game, and you just get like a secret credit warp. That's what that is. It's a speedrun tactic. Okay, I also probably shouldn't allow him to spawn inside that platform when he teleports. Okay, there's a few bugs to iron out with this guy. If I'm being like 100%. Okay. Also, probably shouldn't allow you to switch into the passive state mid-attack. Because that looks really fucking dumb. Oh yeah, and this cutscene is bugged. I need to reanimate this. Because the player character just disappears. And it looks really fucking goofy. And I also, the worst part about that is, I think... Yeah. The player, like that platform is supposed to go up, and then the player character and the suit of armor are supposed to like appear in this room, where we see like all the doors that lead into the dungeons for the real game, and it shows you that for a moment, and then when the cutscene ends, the player character is now like in the game proper, and the tutorial is like not accessible anymore at all. But there's like an issue there in that the player just doesn't show up here. Because for some reason, like, I don't know what happened, man. In that cutscene, it's just, the player character just disappears. I don't know. It's weird. Oh, yeah, I'm getting texted because... Yeah, no, people are texting me that they're watching me. So, go fuck yourself. You ruined my stream. Yeah, so after that cutscene, we cut back to the player, and the player is just like falling endlessly, I'm pretty sure. Like, if I go third-person character, if I look at where I am, like, I'm at like negative 50,000 Z. Like, just, what the fuck is this? That's very weird. It's also kind of weird that we're at location 75? Minus 75, because that should be pretty close to World Origin, and I don't think that map is close to World Origin. So that might actually be... That might actually have something to do with what's going on. Hold on. Because I can still move, right? I know that this is not what we're supposed to be doing right now, but I can still move in this state. So, yeah, I can move around. So, I'm guessing that cutscene, for some reason, sets me back to World Spawn 00. And that's why I disappear. So, I just need to figure it out at some point. For now, though, I think we had our inspiration moment there. So let's get started with these animations, because we're not going to be finishing all these animations on today's stream anyway. Like, how much time do we have left in this stream? We've been live for about an hour and a half. We got another hour in us, maybe, and then we're actually done. I usually don't stream for much more than 2 hours at a time. So let's go back to our animation level, which is just a separate map altogether, because that's just the way I deal. And then in animations, characters, bosses. Nope, that's not where that is. Enemies, player, no. Why? Oh, because I don't have a folder yet for the Reaper, because I haven't made any animations for him. You see, my brain's already starting to break down. Reaper. So, let's... Oh, we never decided. Is this guy going to be left-handed or right-handed? I have to decide now. Which is scary. You have a good day focusing on work. I also maybe should be focusing, but I'm bad at doing like, the whole focusing thing. Especially on stream. So, you have a good day, and maybe see you around next time. I feel like making him... I don't know. What? I'm just gonna toss a coin on this. Better yet, I'm gonna make Siri toss a coin on this. We should probably decide which side means what before I actually flip the coin. Heads is right, tails is left. Flip a coin.
Heads.
What did I say? Heads is right, right? Did I literally just say that I immediately forget what rules I set for myself? Yes, but that means that we're going to go right-handed, I think. So we will add in the... socket here for the weapon. And I will spawn in a scythe just to put it in there. So we spawn in a scythe. Doesn't need to be the blueprint, can just be the mesh. It's gonna need to be a fair bit bigger than it is right now, though. Like at least this big-ish. And then we will attach that to... Let's see, where is that? Transform, snapping, pivot, attach to. There we go. Why won't you let me attach that to... That's weird. What if I just like drag you onto there? Cannot attach static mesh actor to dynamic actor Reaper rig to. You wanna bet? Oh, it's because it's static and not movable. Now I can attach it, right? Now I can attach it to everything. Okay, so we want to go Reaper Rig 2 in the weapon sockets. And then just reset its location so it's in the hand. And that actually seems to be in pretty much the right spots. Almost. But that's an issue with the actual sockets. So just pull that down a little bit. That'll be fine. Okay, so what I'm thinking is I'm going to make just a separate animation. I need to look into poses more, man. Because I think you can just like additively add a pose instead of a 1 frame long animation. But I'm going to make a pose specifically for the right hand holding the scythe. Because it's going to always hold that scythe, and I don't want to have to add that to every single animation. So it's just going to hold it like this in all the animations, but we'll add in a pose for that. That's just going to be additively added on the end. I think that makes the most sense. So animation, Reaper. Let's start making the first one. So we add in a new level sequence. And this will be Reaper scythe hand closed. Very, very descriptive. Add in the Reaper. And from the Reaper, we want to add in the control rig. And in the control rig, that's the thing that we just spent a fucking hour doing. We can now, in theory anyway, just kind of do this. Now, admittedly, the scythe needs to be put in a slightly different position. Does this add it to the animation? I don't want this to be added to the animation. It does not. Okay, cool. Is this... yeah, this can go a little bit further still for most of them. Need these fingers to be grasping this thing as tight as fucking possible. Which might actually, like, this might not be... There seems to be a distinct difference between some of these fingers. And I don't know. I need to set my camera speed lower. It's a little bit better. And I don't know why that is. Okay, none of them were set to the max, maybe? I don't know. Again, just look at these fingers. Like, some of them are seemingly a lot more closed than others. Which isn't great. The directions of these arrows are actually embarrassing as well. I mean, this works well enough, I think. Can move around this scythe handle a little bit more to like make it maybe rotate it ever so slightly. And if this is a good excuse to make it slightly bigger as well, you won't hear me complaining. Okay, maybe that's a little too big. Yeah, that's about good. That's about right. I actually think it could be bigger than this. Like, this might actually still be a little on the small side. Which is a little ridiculous, I will admit. Where's the last arrow? Because that doesn't impact the finger that I wanted to impact, I don't think. No, it does. That feels a little better. Yeah, let's go with that. Okay. I think you can save this as a pose and just additively add the pose instead of an animation as well. We'll worry about that later. We won't finish the animation stuff today on stream anyway. We'll do that next week, next Tuesday, and we'll just spectacularly fail at it over and over and over and over and over and over again. But for now, let's make the idle animation. So that's Reaper, hover, idle. And this is going to be the most difficult animation in the entire game that we'll have to make. Like, this is actually like insane how difficult this will be. Like, just let's first reset the fingers here, because of course we're going to do that additively. So if we reset the fingers, that should be pretty good. They all need to be at 0 though. I don't know why they aren't moving on individual axes. That's worrying me a little bit, but you know. Okay, now that we have that done, this is going to be the most difficult thing that you'll ever see me do. We set a keyframe at frame 0. Then we go to like frame 90. Let's be crazy. Let's go to frame 100. And we set another keyframe. We also pull the animation in to only be 100 frames long. And then we go to the middle. Frame 50. And we move him slightly up. Riveting. And immediately like 4 people left. That is amazing. Oh, man, that's going to be a short. I'll promise you that much. That's going to be a short. Especially the fact that, like, I started that and I was like, oh, we've got like 13 people or 12 people here. And then I looked over after doing that joke and there were only 7 left. Anyway, that's what this does. It's just like we bob up and down and that will loop. Like, it's nothing too complicated, but this will be the base of the idle animation and we'll add some other stuff on top of that. So let's copy it over again. We have hover idle 1, which will be like arm, passive, arm, idle. And the reason I'm doing this in different abandoned ship, well, at this point we're down to 6, so apparently my sense of humor is just not appreciated. The reason I'm doing it this way, by the way, if you haven't seen the short I've made about this like half a year ago at this point, is because we're layering a couple of animations on top of each other to prevent obvious looping. I will show you a animation of a enemy. I think that's Basic Reaper. Yeah, that's this guy, which still I haven't fixed the material for. But like, this guy has the same technique, and I really like the way that worked out in the end. Is he's got like these finger wiggles that he does. That's one animation. The up and down bobbing is one animation, and then like his arms going back and forth is one animation. So if we go into the animation graph, you will see that we have like the Reaper idle sequence player, and Reaper idle is like just this. It's also got cloth physics, but it's just this, right? It's just him bobbing up and down. And then we have the basic idle look, which is, okay, it's like root motion stuff is going weirdly here, but I think we can just, yeah. if we do this and we... Give me a moment. We'll get there, I promise, at some point. Maybe. I don't know. Where even are we? Okay, I'm a little lost on that. But that's the looking back and forth, and we have got the arm movement, which is like surely somewhere in here as well. I don't know what's going on with any of this, to be honest with you. All I know is that it works, and I'm not going to touch it again. But we've got these three poses, right? So we have this idle looking and idle arm movement, and it's fading between either or. So it's playing one of them based on whether or not it's currently patrolling. So if it's chasing, it won't be looking around. It's doing the arm movement in that case. If it is patrolling, it'll be looking around instead. So it's adding those additively to each other. Then it adds in the finger wiggles as well. Again, additive apply. And that creates its basic animation loop, which, because these are all on separate timings, like the bobbing up and down is like 60 frames, and the like looking around is, I think, like 80 frames, and the finger wiggles is probably like 70 frames or something. The loop points for those aren't going to overlap, which means that it's not going to be as obvious that there's like looping animations happening. That's the idea anyway. And that's why I'm doing it the same for this guy anyway. This is a boss fight, so you're not going to be seeing him just like walking around as much. It's probably not going to be that big a deal. But on the other hand, it's a boss fight. It should feel a little less static, a little bit more alive. So it's just like depending on how you see it. Let's get back to what I was doing though, which is bosses, Reaper, the passive arm idle. And this one is going to have even more things layered on top of each other, because I'm going to be animating both of these arms individually as well, I think. Maybe I won't. Does it make sense to have those? No, I don't think they ever should be like on separate loops, because that makes them move independent from each other, and that's just not how like arms work. Well, you can move arms independent from each other, of course. But like if you raise one shoulder, the other one lowers. You can put effort into raising both of them. But like naturally, if you just... Everybody watching this, if you're like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Everybody watching this, just relax your shoulders and try to lift your right shoulder. Okay? Now do it again and pay attention to what happens to your left shoulder. It should like slightly lower, because that's just like how your muscles work. Maybe now that you're paying attention to it, you're actually counteracting it though, which is really annoying. But like that's just how your muscular system works. So, yeah, I'm going to be animating those in the same animation after all. That's really what this comes down to. And that means that, okay, we're going to be removing this. So how are we going to do this is the question then. We have this. I'm very happy actually now that it's in engine with the weight painting job on the shoulder. Because it's, and actually the entire thing, like it's actually pretty well done, if I do say so myself. It's a little bit of clipping there, but hey, it's a video game, that's fine. Hopefully. Maybe. I don't know. Let's just pose this thing first in a somewhat maybe intimidating way. I don't know if it will be intimidating, to be honest with you. I mean, the massive fucking scythe in your face does make it intimidating, I would argue. So, I think I want the scythe to be like up there. I was actually thinking maybe having the scythe like a little bit more, having this arm a little bit more like struck out, and then having the scythe be somewhat angled backward might work well, but I don't know if that's going to work out because, well, actually no, because I can just do this, right? I mean, I can just do this, right? Oh yeah, maybe I should just... I'm gonna do that in world space. And if I turn the head back... That looks a little bit more intimidating, I would think. Right? Like, turn this back a little bit, like down a little. Like, the way he's... like 45 degrees angle toward you. I think this works. And I'll go back into local space for these. That's the starting pose anyway. Now it needs to move. Posing is one thing. Animation is a whole other beast. And I'm not best at posing at the best of times, let alone actually making things move. I'm going to turn on a light here because things are getting a little dark. I'll be back in a moment. And the moment is gone. We are back. And now I have no reason to not animate this fucker anymore. Other than like the bobbing up and down probably needs like a little bit of movement in the spine as well, but at this point I'm just looking for excuses not to do what I'm supposed to be doing. So let's start with this arm and say that this arm is going to be like moving in a little like this, and then down. I don't necessarily want to have the ribs move too much. Like a little bit maybe, but not too much at all. So we have this movement, which is too fast. But first we do the posing, then we do the timing. Usually I just like go 1 second between poses and then I move poses around. Move this in even more. Yeah, you see, the fact that they are moving at the same time does make that more mechanical, especially if they're going to be looping. That's going to feel very mechanical because it's going to be moving like in and out and in and out. Maybe if they are like alternated instead. But I think that's still going to feel mechanical. Okay, because what's happening now is they're both moving in at the same time and they're going to both be moving out at the same time. So what if we take everything in like the left side here, which is these like 3 keyframes. We pull those out a little and we make those the end position here, and we start position at there. So now, yeah, now they're moving in the same direction, which also doesn't help. So I've reconsidered what I'm going to do here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to animate these into 2 different animations after all. So this will be the passive arm, and then we'll have the scythe arm as well. Just copying it over now because I've got the posing for like one pose. Let's do the passive arm first. So everything to do with arm right is gonna go away. Can we like reset these? I would very much like to like clear transform on them or something like that. Is there any quicker way to do that than just going through here and setting all these to 0? There might be. Can I just delete? No, that still doesn't do it. Okay. I guess we'll just do it manually then. That's fine. It's only 3 keyframes. 9 properties. We'll be fine. Okay, so now the question is, what do we do with the angling of the body? Because that does actually make a difference. It's only going to be in one of those animations. I guess we just make a separate animation for the body as well. So we have, like, I think it's this one. Yeah, it's this one. So this one just also gets set back to 0, 0, 0. And then all these keyframes just get absolutely destroyed. And the same for this. Again, there's probably a more efficient way to do this. I just can't be fucked looking it up right now. So this is now just looking straight on. And we can focus on purely this one arm. So let's go forward 30 frames, as I was just saying. And yeah, I do think that like moving this inward like this, almost like invitingly, right? Probably in more of an arc, to be honest. Like this is the end position. So if we put that on frame 60. On frame 30 we make sure that, hey, this one we probably could do this with curves instead and make this like a little less destructible. Or destructive rather. Yeah, let's do it with curves instead. We talked about the curve editor anyway today, so let's just do that. The downside to the curve editor is that it is really bitching to work with this on only one screen, which is why I don't usually do it on stream. But we'll try to make it work. This is arm 1. We have the rotation for all of these. And what I want is the rotation in the Z to be like significantly, so that's the yaw, that's the yaw. It's not flattened tangents. It's just, that's just what I want. So what I want is probably to have this like be you see, that's just using the curve in general does make that a lot more organic already. It's not exactly what I was looking for though, because what I was looking for is probably, I don't know, it seems like it is actually movement in the, it's a combination of movement in the Z here, which just needs to be, I think, oh, it needs to go the other way. So if we make a curve that goes like that, it does, just seeing that one arm move, it does feel a little bit like a Disneyland animatronic at this point. Which is probably what the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's was like. Oh, I actually suck at animating. Let's make animatronics, because animatronic things are like, or electronic things in general, are just so much easier to animate. That is the... Also the yaw, I think I want to be influencing here. Broken tangents. So if we influence the yaw for this one, and we make it, again, a pretty wide curve. That's not what I want to do at all. What I want to do is something a little more akin to this. So let's see what that feels like. It might be a little too fast in the... Just a little bit more like that, maybe. Look, I'm no animator, but I do get a little bit of... Oh, that's still too fast. I do get a little bit of a benefit from, like, having a background in video production. So I do have, like, some amount of, like, motion graphic experience and stuff. Okay, and if that then lingers around a little bit and then slowly goes back to where it was at, lingers around there and then loops, I think that is a pretty decent animation. We also definitely should be like animating this wrist to be like leading that motion a little bit more, I think. You guessed it, the fucking yaw. So at frame 30, we want that to be... Well, actually at frame 30 we want it to be roughly the same, don't we? Maybe a little bit more closed? A little bit more closed? But only after opening it up more. So this curve is going to be fucking wild. I think. No. It's really annoying working with like 10 different softwares, all of which have different navigation tools. I've complained about this a lot in the past, and I will continue to complain about this in the future. This needs to be like a lot. Like even more. And earlier. More and earlier. Okay, that might be a little too fast. And a little too much. But like this should feel like the wrist is leading this movement. Also, it's too fast because we've set these things to be happening at frame 60, not frame 30, apparently. Which gives us more room to work with. So I'm actually like 100% about that. So we can make this like stronger. And then make this a little bit more subtle. So we can do... It doesn't even need to be that strong, to be honest with you. Then we do something similar with the fingers. I can dig that. I can dig that. Okay. I'm just going to point it out that this idle animation by itself is not going to be finished today, most likely. But we'll figure it out. We'll get there. I'm going to delete this keyframe and line this one up at frame 60. Let's see, okay, how are we going to do the fingers here? Because I want the fingers to work into the wrist movement here. So those aren't going to be a separate animation. Initially I thought that was going to be a separate animation, but I think those are too intrinsically linked with the way the hand moves here to make those separate animations. So what we'll do is, I don't know why everything isn't just a keyframe here. Again, at frame 60. So what we want to do is we want to have the fingers stretch out here, and then so they need to start being at least somewhat bent down. And now that we have this as an animation, we also need to make sure that the thumb doesn't actually clip through the rest. Important. And it should end up roughly around the same point here as well, I think. Maybe like a little less than it was. And then at the 30 frame mark, we might not even use the curve editor for that, to be honest. Like just normal interpolation with the extra keyframe might just work out well enough. Yeah, and then we go up to like frame 90. We just extend this movement ever so slightly. We might, you know what? Actually, we might not do that with a keyframe. Now we're doing this whole curve thing anyway. We might as well try to, like, we can do that with curves, right? We can just say, no, we actually do need another keyframe at the end of that. Okay. That's a bit of a bummer. I suppose what we do is we want the action to happen, extend a little bit, and then move back into a starting position. So what we'll do is we'll check out all of the layers that have like actual animation data, which is only this, I think. And we'll just put this at frame 100. We're going to retime this in a moment, but this is also the starting position, right? So we'll differentiate the movement there with the curves where we can. So first and foremost, the fuck is up with the fact that there's no extra tangent on this one. That's weird. Is it because of this one? Might be because of that one. No, I don't think it's because of that one. Oh, what? No, no, bad. Oh, the tangent is just literally inside of that keyframe. Neat. That's always what you like to hear. And then we also needed to like linger around there a little bit. Maybe we need a little. Is this normalized? No, it's not normalized. Fuck you. Okay, so that's the hand. Now this one. We only want to worry about the yaw rotation at the moment. Again, we need to extend this a little bit, have a little bit of somewhat faster movement, which then slows down again. So we have a slight bit of almost hanging around. And then this one is pinching the ever-living hell out of itself. So we need to do something about this. That would be why, maybe. Oh, these are still linked together. Okay. Honestly, just kind of have this vibing like this. Works for me. It's like very... Okay. I know, very robotic. The timing on this is fucked. Like, very much. But that's probably because this needs to be, like, closer to, like, at 150. And that transition between, like, those movement speeds needs to be... Okay. There just needs to be a little bit more... I don't know what there needs to be a little bit more of. I'm just going to be honest. Needs to be a little bit more of a, like, transition between this. So, like, this needs to be flatter, and so does this. So the movement and curve needs to come more from the tangent on this one, I think. Just looking at, like, the arm movement as a whole, right? That is already, like, a lot less robotic, just... Now it might even be a little bit slow, to be honest, but that is easily fixable by moving these to, like, 75 and, I don't know, 47. Okay, so now we just need to worry a little bit about the other axis to make the, like, the return path to its origin point, not just the reverse of what it took to get there to begin with, because that doesn't create a looping animation, that creates a boomerang animation, and we don't want boomeranging. But that also should be quite doable if we just go into, like, the pitch here, for instance, and we say, hey, pitch, super cool that you exist, let's do something wacky with you. Like, I don't know, something like that. It's mostly up to the shoulder movement, but I think... Maybe if we do something like that. Probably want to do that the other way around, actually. No, we don't. We don't want to do that the other way around. We want to do it this way around. And fuck it, let's break those tangents apart. Because we can do stuff like that. And maybe even, like, a little bit in that way. You can still feel a keyframe in there, right? Like, right there. But that's, again, just a timing thing. So if we move this over a little bit more. It's actually the other way around, I think. Let's make this like 140 instead. No, there's just still something a little fucked up there. It's just one of the situations where I'm like, I can't quite figure out what the issue is. Which again, is mostly because I am not a professional animator. But it definitely does feel like it might have something to do with the fact that this curve is like actually nuts. So let's just calm this down ever so slightly. Like it speeds up there a lot and then it slows back down. I feel like that does make it a little bit better already. I still would like to have this like It's really iffy to work with this. Because it also impacts a lot of other stuff apparently. Can I not just... Yeah, there we go. So I really want this to like move more inward. And in order to accomplish that, what we need to do is... I guess we'll see. We need to move that more up. Okay. Just tested my game in Unreal 5.4. Emissive lights look so much better. Have you tested already? I have not. I've installed 5.4 to just like play around a little bit. I wasn't aware that there was any change to emissive lighting in 5.4. I'm glad that there is, because emissive lighting, like Lumen is great, and I'm using it for my project as well in 5.3. But it's like not amazing sometimes. Like there's like a lot of noise to it, which you can only really fix with like the super resolution temporal anti-aliasing thing. But that anti-aliasing method brings a lot of ghosting with it, so then the lighting itself is causing ghosting, and there's like I'm not a huge fan. I'm gonna stick with it because the global illumination on like emissive materials is amazing, especially like with my weapon trails, which emit light and stuff like that. Like it's just not reasonably reproducible without global illumination. Technically, everything is reproducible without global illumination, almost, but not like reasonably. Okay, so what I want to do for this one is I just want to move this like up a lot more, right? So this keeps... I might actually... No. I might actually want to like actively be moving this up a little bit more. But only... Like this does need to have a little bit of like a resting curve to it. But then something that does like this. We might need another keyframe to make this work, but let's see. That's making like a circular motion, right? And this does kind of line up with the angle of that. So maybe we can even make that a little bit more extreme. Like this is where I start having fun with the animation. Is where I'm like, okay, that works. Let's see how far we can push it before it starts looking weird. And that is about how far we can push it before it starts looking weird. Okay, point taken. I feel like this needs to like chill out a little bit more up here, but that might also be more to do with these controls as well. Like specifically like the yaw for this one, we might want to pull this out a little bit more, so we have more of a... Yeah. And then for the wrist as well, I think we could do with that. A little bit more of like a flat line in there to really like get that more fluid motion conveyed properly. Then again, I think that having like a little bit of overshot for this might be a good thing as well. Maybe even more than this. Don't know what the fuck happened there. Yeah, maybe even more than that. So we maybe do it a little bit more like this. Like the fingers maybe like don't need that flatlining at all. Or the wrist rather. The fingers definitely don't. We just do that. Yeah, and then if we do the same with the fingers, curling in a little bit more and then bouncing back, I think that makes a pretty good animation. That's right, these are just floats. I forgot. So let's see, how does that break the tangents? Oh, let's do it with a thumb first, or wait, what the fuck? Oh yeah, let's do it with the thumb first. I was a little confused there. Break them apart, so we have a little bit more of this going on, and then this can like go all the way the fuck up there. So we. I don't know if this will work with all of them together. But it would be fucking lit if it did. Just pull them all up there. Pull all of these down a little more. And then pull all of these like up a little like that. See what that looks like. I think what I want to do is like, I like this, but I think I want the middle fingers to curl in a little bit more. So you've got like the middle finger, index and ring finger curling a little bit more, and then the middle finger and most out of the three. So we take the index finger and we just generally maybe like increase this a little bit more as well. And then also make this a little bit steeper. And we'll do the same with the ring finger. And then with the middle finger, we'll do that like a lot. Like at this point, this technically goes over a value of 1. I don't think it will actually like do that, but and then I think for the pinky and the thumb, at this point I'm just having fun. We want to maybe like extend this out a little bit more as well, and then this a little, to have those lagging behind a little is the idea. I don't know if it'll work, but I guess we're about to see. Yeah, that feels a little bit more creepy, right? The fact that they're not all moving at exactly the same time. Maybe it could even accentuate that a little bit more than we have right now. And definitely think we could have the upper portion of the arm moving a lot more. But this is the kind of thing that you can spend literal hours on. I also need to worry about like pinching of the cloth here a little bit. So like we could probably, if we do that, maybe let's see what that looks like. At that point, I feel like maybe this needs a little less rotation. And this one needs a little bit more. And it is kind of a nice thing, right? Because we only got a couple of keyframes, but they all have like these interpolation curves. Is we can still change around the actual data, but the interpolation curves will stay the same. We might have to adjust them a little bit, but for the most part, I think that does the trick. And that's one arm. I think we just spent like 40 minutes animating one arm for one animation. This is why I don't like animation. It takes fucking forever to do. There's also like a potential like jumping thing here. Let's just... That's for the arm 2, it says. I don't know, I'm just gonna like remove this keyframe. It's not that they have keyframes jumping, it's just that they are not lined up properly. For like timing related stuff is probably like a good thing. Like you shouldn't have things moving all too much at the same time. I think I've reached a point with this animation at least where I am incapable of actually looking at this and making any proper judgments. I've looked at this animation, this movement way too many times in a row to actually get a good feel of what this feels like. I think that that was an improvement. I think it is, yeah. I don't know, I wish that Unreal had a like looping animation option. Maybe there is. Playback. Start and end. Rerun construction scripts. I don't care. You imagine that like an animation sequence, like an animation timeline would have a looping function, right? Like just easily accessible somewhere? I'm gonna Google this real quick, hold on. Unreal sequencer loop. Level sequence actor has a property. Yeah, I don't care about that. I'm using this in like a non-standard way, which is fair enough. At the bottom of the sequencer player, there's controls. Far right, play once or loop button. There we go, looping. Thanks. Anybody who was wondering? This button right here. If you click on it, goes back to play once, goes back to looping. I've been looking for this for forever. Oh, it also changes the color of your playhead. No, it doesn't. I'm just insane. Okay, so now it should loop, so we can actually see like how this animation loops as well. Whether or not that is... Oh, but that actually works. Error in the bottom, last one. Thank you. I found it on Google, but probably should have just waited for somebody to answer it. That actually works remarkably well. Like you can tell there's a looping point there. Well, that should be pretty like fixable. Like, it's mostly the fingers, I think, and the wrists. But like the upper arm itself, which is the most important part of the animation because it drives everything under it, is so smooth in its loop that I'm actually kind of impressed with myself. Again, I'm not an animator. And also, like, this joint also does very well. It's just the end bits of the arm itself that, like, do a little bit of a sweep, which like, might not be a bad thing necessarily. But I think I prefer it not to be there. So let's look at the hand. I'm also just like fine-tuning this animation at this point because I know that I'm not going to be starting the next animation in this stream. So I've got the time, I'm spending the time to fine-tune this a little bit more than I usually would probably. Apparently the hand doesn't have... Oh, it's the wrong hand. There we go. Oh, hello! A lot of fucking curves here, isn't there? So yeah, the question first and foremost is this even in the same position? It is. right? Like it's not that I'm seeing jumping. It's just that I'm seeing the motion at the start is too fast. It's not even the end. It's the motion at the start is too fast. So if I just slow these down a little, like, hold on. Let's do this individually. Like, well, not individually, but like the hands first, the fingers first, and then the hands. So if we just like pull that down a little more like this, and then we do the hand, which also fair. That looks pretty fast. Just relax that a little. Does that feel like? Is that any improvement? I don't know. The thing with the looping is in Blender there's always like a little bit of a hitch at the end of an animation before it like loops back together, like a 1-frame hitch, which makes it difficult to judge whether or not something loops properly. I don't know if Unreal has something similar going on here at the moment. I don't think it does. It actually feels pretty smooth, to be honest with you. Like that is a lot better, I think. But it also doesn't, like, I do want this to like go quite a bit further. So maybe easing this does help a little bit though. Okay, let's ease this a lot more and take it from this tangent. That does make it a lot smoother of a transition, to be honest. I remember we're looking specifically at the movement of this one arm now, right? But this is going to be blended with like 3 or 4 different animation layers to make the idle animation, which we're only going to be seeing like about 10% of the time. So fuck me, I guess. So I think that this does the trick. I think that it doesn't have to be perfect. You're not going to be looking at this up close anyway, because you'll be too busy running for your fucking life if all goes to plan. And this is going to be part of a like layered animation anyway. So I think we're going to leave it there for right now because I am dying inside. But I'm quite happy with the movement of this arm. Like this actually, legitimately, like this one arm animation is probably one of the best animations that I've made in a while. And hopefully the cloth physics are going to play well with it. But at this point, I'm actually like so happy with this character so far that even if the cloth physics end up just screwing me over and it just doesn't work entirely because of something wrong in the like modeling process, I'm just gonna like not care. Really? So I'm quite happy with this character otherwise. Anyway, thanks everybody for jumping in to the stream and hanging out and having fun. And there's actually like been quite a few people coming in. It seems like the concurrent viewer count on my stat screen is actually like remarkably, like consistently above like 6, which is quite good for my standards. So thanks everybody, and hopefully we'd like me having a little bit more of a schedule for this kind of stuff. You'll know when to stop in, which will be next Tuesday, same time, same channel, and that's the schedule that we're trying to maintain. It's Tuesday, Thursdays on whatever time zone you're in these times. So I'll see you back on Tuesday when we'll be doing probably some more animation stuff. See you then. Also, let's stop this timeline. Bye.